The Dauntless. Systems boot ready. Primary power online. Awareness online. Audio-visual receivers online. Physical controls booting. Hurry, hurry, oh please hurry. She chants in the prison of her mind as she reboots. It's less than a second. She had it timed on an internal clock, but it was a half-second too long at a full quarter-second. She could only see up at the ceiling and hear the soft breathing of someone nearby, but she couldn't do anything. Physical controls online. The moment she has the power to move, she does, snapping upright in a borderline panic. 0.21 seconds. Faster than normal. Still too long. Transformation systems online. Backup power online. Reproductive system cycle designated Slave 2 online. Master-slave system cycled and redesignated. Master is now Slave 1, Slave 1 is now Slave 2, Slave 2 is now Master. System now designated Slave 2 offline for automatic maintenance. She turns off the notifications running through the corner of her vision. Anything abnormal will overwrite the command and tell her there's a problem anyways. Pleasant sleep cycle? A voice near her asks, and Cotty Downshift turns to regard him. Engineer Thomas Dodge is a balding man, but not one to be underestimated. There was a sort of soft roundness to him that seemed to make him very approachable and friendly. The cycle is pleasant enough, it's just that there's waking up. It's not long, but there's a moment where I'm trapped again. I know it's stupid, but it's still scary. Secondary transformation system online. The warning flashes in front of her vision and then fades. Not to pressure you or anything, ma'am, but we'd like to know if your operation was successful. We kept a very close eye on your upgrades and augmentations when you were powered down, and though everything seems on the up and up, there's nothing like confirmation, Dodge says, and she looks at him before nodding. Initiating shrink, she says, and the world seems to fall away from her. The bed she'd been sitting on goes from properly sized to absolutely gigantic, as Dodge seems to grow from tiny and cute to large and kind of handsome. Was the room always this big? She asks, and he chuckles. It was indeed. The shrinking seems to have worked perfectly. How's the energy readout? Dodge asks, and Cady considers for a moment. I seem to be operating at maximum efficiency. I can stay in a shrunken stat for the next 30 hours. She starts scooching over to the edge of the bed, and Dodge offers his hand to help her down. That seems to have worked flawlessly. Welcome to the same level of the rest of us, ma'am. Now you can use the short doors. She can't help but smile. Thank you, sir. I must say, seeing things from your angle might prove to be a novel experience. He chuckles. Indeed, now how about that new transformation? He asks, and she considers before triggering the change. Her ears and tail retract as her body reconfigures. The shrinking technology triggers again and her body reconfigures to slim her profile. Tiny projectors activate and sync up with her body movements. In a moment, a pale, almost pinkish hue flows over her and, okay. They're definitely working, ma'am, but first things first. You need some clothes, Dodge says as he wraps his jacket around her. So let's get on to that, shall we? Why so nervous? They're just projections. You're not seeing anything real. She teases as she reaches up to lift one of her now quite small breasts. Regardless, it's still inappropriate. Dodge rebukes her mildly. Could you please deactivate the hologram? What's the matter? Don't like being around naked ladies? Cady asks as she reaches up and plays with her fiber cable hair. It's now disguised as a soft blonde and even feels like normal hair. Or is it how young I look? I mean, sure, with the way my breasts and butt are, I look like a preteen, but from what I understand on a human woman, these are actually pretty big. That's not it at all. You know that's not it, so please stop. Dodge orders with a stern look, and she breaks out into a smile. Fine, she says before deactivating the hologram around her. Although I really don't see why you're so concerned. I have all the same parts and bits, they're just colored differently. I haven't taken my jacket back for a reason, Dodge remarks. In fact, I have a fairly basic outfit for you here if you're willing. Cady tilts her heads as her ears fully extend once again, and she raises a digital eyebrow in amusement. You don't have a problem in my normal configuration. Why is the more human one such a problem? Or do all humans have a thing for preteens with pituitary problems? Within cruel space, your current dimensions are actually quite voluptuous. Geez, so a whole race of pedophiles? That's what I've gotten mixed up in? You know we're not, Dodge remarks. Yeah, but it's hard to get a rise out of you. It's like you're a professional or something, Cady teases and then smiles when he chuckles slightly. There we go. Could you please put this on? He asks, and she sighs before taking the folded clothing in his arms. So, did you guys record the whole process? Seeing people inside me as I got upgraded? Am I still a virgin? She asks as she slips on the bright orange coveralls. They're far from flattering, but they're also cheap, so if anything goes wrong, it's no loss. Yes, yes, and no, Dodge remarks, and Catty spins around to stare at him. Then her digital face takes on an annoyed look when she sees his grin. Got you back. Yes. Yes, you did, she concedes as she finishes zipping up. Woo, this feels kind of scratchy without underwear. Unfortunately, we didn't know exactly what dimensions you'd have exactly, so we highballed it. If you'll follow me to supply, we'll fit you with a functional wardrobe to get you started, Dodge says, and Catty nods. It's kind of funny to be walking through these tiny doors now. I used to have to get on my hands and knees just to see into them, Catty remarks before giggling. Here I go into the kingdom of the little people. Oh yes, the land of midgets and munchkins. Ha! Dodge remarks with his voice up in pitch. We'll be using the anti-gravity hallway in the middle of the ship. There's a magnetic rail along the walls going in either direction. Stick the metal plate on your outfit to the rail and hold out your arm to catch the ladder you want to use. Will I stick? Catty asks, and Dodge pauses in thought. That's a fair question. Care to find out? We can go the long way if you want. Oh no, besides, I don't think I've ever played in zero gravity. The hallway isn't a playpen. So you're saying that you've never found troopers having fun in there? The first leg of our trip was without gravity, if you'll recall. By the time you arrived, any novelty was long worn out. Dodge explains as he shows Catty to a ladder that goes upward into the shaft. You still haven't answered if I'll stick to the rail, Catty remarks. The rail isn't that strong magnetically, he assures her as he climbs up. Whoa, she mutters as she pushes away from the ladder after climbing and drifts backwards. The wall and rail are... Dodge begins before she drifts right into the rail going the wrong way. The robotic woman gives out a squeal of surprise as the weak magnet still affects her through the outfit and drags her off and away. Hang on, Dodge says as he hurls himself after her with the help of the ladder before sticking to the rail. He then turns and plants a single steel-toed boot on the rail and then starts climbing the rail like a ladder to catch up with her. Help me! She squeals, and he grabs her around the ankle and holds his arm out to catch the next ladder for a sudden but not painful stop. Blag! Is the drama over? Dodge asks in amusement. That scared me. I could have been hurt. No, the absolute ends of the rails are heavily padded and angled so you bounce off and float in the middle of the hallway. Look, he explains, nodding down the hallway where the end is close enough to easily make out. He then gives her leg a tug and adjusts her to standing on the floor. This is harder than you think. Zero gravity and microgravity are a big game of three-dimensional pool with a... You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? He asks, and she shakes her head. Of course. I'll have to introduce you to some of the rec rooms on the way back from supply. Video games are nice and all, but there's something to be said about something more physical with friends. Darts, pool, air hockey, bowling, and more. That sounds nice? Catty asks. So, you want to climb down and out for the long way around, or do you want to give the rail a proper try? It's kind of confusing, Catty remarks. It's easy, Dodge says, holding out his arm and bent at the elbow. Just hold your arm out like this and then reach out when we're at the ladder. Ours is number 26. It has bright yellow and blue tape on it. Oh, okay, Catty says as she looks around before nodding. You first. Certainly. This way then, he says and holds out his arm to catch the magnetic rail. Just stop being afraid. The edges of the ladders are padded. You'll be fine no matter what. Saying it's safe and believing it are different things, Catty calls down to him as she puts her hand on the rail and is pulled along. She seems to calm down now that she's in control and even grabs a few ladders to stop and start again. By the time she arrives at ladder 26, she's easily using the magnetic rail and is actually smiling. She kicks off the wall and starts turning in the air, and then her digital eyes widen comedically as the spin starts going sideways, and she impacts the foam of the ladder with a slight clank. I see you're getting the hang of it, Dodge notes as she rights herself. Ha ha. So where's supply? She asks, and he nods upward. Head on up and I'll show you the rest of the way. He tells her, and she quickly goes through a moment of disconcertion as she re-enters the gravity. All right, we're just a little ways away. So what happens to me next? I can wander the Dauntless. Is there anywhere I'm not allowed to go? Those places are guarded. The guards will tell you if you're not allowed. Everywhere else you're allowed to be in. As for beyond that, Dodge shrugs. That depends how you chose to help. Your mother ran an insurance company, so that kind of bureaucratic skill might be a way to earn some pay. Really? As much as people dislike the idea, a lot of paper pushers are needed to keep everything straight. Maybe if I could get my hands on some legal training? I think I'd like to be a lawyer, Cotty remarks, and Dodge considers. You'd be around some interesting company then. The lawyers we've got here on the Dauntless have gained a reputation for long rants at how backwards stupid the laws of the galaxy are and how most are more loophole than legislation, Dodge says before stopping. Here we are. Supply. Time to browbeat the tight-fisted bugger into actually doing his job. I heard that, the officer in Supply shouts. Good. Then put on a friendly face. Miss Downshift is here for some proper clothing. Rack and roll, Shadows of Centris. You know you two will need to let go eventually, right? Koa asks Nita and Nika. Each one of them is hanging off his arms with a vice-like grip. We're making sure every floozy knows you're ours, Nita announces. It's important to establish that my sister and I are your first wives. Otherwise, any random hussy might make a grab for you, Nika explains. Isn't that the whole reason we're coming here? You two wanting to parade me through this spire to get more sister wives? Koa asks. He has reservations about this. He hadn't been ordered to do this, but had been told to consider it again from his initial reaction of an immediate no. It is, but that doesn't mean we just let any random floozy to grab onto you and force her way in, Nika says. And why do we need to have more wives? Am I too much for you girls? Koa teases. Yep, Nita says. Oh yes, Nika replies. Also, the more sister wives in a family, the stronger the family is. The more money there is and the husband and children are better kept. I didn't realize that I needed to be kept. The Undaunted are fairly robust as a people, Koa remarks. Look, I get it. You're trying to be Mr. Tough Tret. Human. My species is still human, Koa corrects. Sure you are, Nika says, kissing him on the forehead. Anyways, yes, husbands should be kept. Men are valuable, there's not enough, and the fact that you Undaunted use men as soldiers is horrible. It's very practical among humans. Without axiom, men are stronger and are born at the same rate as women. Sure they are, Nita drawls. Don't worry, one day you'll wake up to reality. Right, anyways, you little bimbos. Is there anything you're aiming for? Are you trying to breed me with a certain race? Are CEOs a race? Nita asks Nika, who shakes her head. No, that's a job. What would that even stand for as a species classification? Nika asks in curiosity. Crawling endothermic omnivores? Koa asks. Endothermic? The sisters ask at once, revealing once again that though Nika is the wiser of the two, that it's not by much is nothing to boast about. Never mind, Koa says. Which way? Up 2 levels and down a few streets, Nita says, pointing towards the rising platforms at the edges. Then why didn't we start on the higher levels? Why would we? Nika asks, honestly baffled. So there would be less of a distance to travel, Koa answers. But then we'd have had to take the lifts closer to home, Nika protests. We already had to take them twice. What's 2 more times before going on to the public transport? When you have to do your job, it's best to start with a quick burst and end with a quick burst, Nita says, and Koa pauses and thinks. But if you get the big stuff done first, then you can relax and sweep away the little stuff, Koa rebukes. But it's so much work, Nita protests. You have to do the work anyways. Get it all over with, then relax, Koa replies. Then how can you enjoy relaxing if you're so tired? Nika asks. Relaxing is so you stop being tired so you can go and do more things, Koa remarks. What? That's just silly, Nita protests. She's right, a life where you only rest to get more done is horrible. They're not abusing you on that ship, are they? You keep saying no, but it's so awful sounding. It's not like that. Relaxation is one thing, but recreation is another. Personal projects, skills, and talents. I'm not a professional singer, but I sing for fun. I'm not a professional cook, but I like cooking. My job is to be a soldier, not a singer or a cook. If I only relaxed and lazed around during my off time, I wouldn't have either of those talents. I guess, but why even bother learning things like that if they're not how you make money? I mean, it's already weird that you try and earn money. Need to break you of that bad habit. But you won't have to work soon enough. With enough sister wives, you'll never have to work again and only have to worry about being a good husband and father. Nika explains, and Koa lifts both his arms to quickly look from Nika to Nita. If either of you little ladies think that I'm going to stop being a soldier for the Undaunted, then you've got another thing coming. I'm a soldier. My whole family has a solid and proud legacy of working to bring order and stability around us. From children's aid to police to firefighting to my work in the army, we all do our part. But you won't have to, Nika protests. If we have just 20, then all of us only have to give a little bit of money, and you can live a wonderful life, and all you have to worry about is helping us have as many babies as possible. That sounds horrible. A life with no direction, no goals, nothing to strive for or prove yourself against? That's awful, Koa remarks. No, it's not! I'd love a life like that, Nita protests, and Koa snorts as he lowers his arms. Maybe for a short while, but after a few weeks, maybe a month, it would wear thin and I'd be going insane for want of something to do. Some limit to push, some obstacle to overcome, Koa remarks as he steps onto the lift and nearly starts as they start rising into the air. It's okay, Nita says. Our wings are small but strong. One of us alone can catch you. You're only safer in bed, Nika assures him. I know, it's just a little reaction, Koa assures them, and the sisters lean to the side to look at each other. They both look down a different side and spend a few moments switching back and forth to try and get the proper twin telepathy thing going, but keep missing until Nika holds still and lets Nita catch up. What are you two doing? What they're doing is plotting. The moment he steps off the first rising panel, they unfurl their wings and start flapping hard. What the hell? Koa demands and has to resist thrashing as he's suddenly pulled straight upwards. Tiny wings beat with immense power as all three of them shoot up like bullets. In moments, he's stepping onto the next level. Feeling more comfortable? Nika asks as Nita giggles. Some warning would have been nice, Koa remarks. Then where would the adorable yelps come from? Nika asks. I didn't yelp. Yes, you did. A yelp is a high-pitched exclamation. I did not do that, Koa asserts, and Nika pouts at him. While adorable, no amount of pouting will change the fact that I did not yelp. Then let's hear a yelp, Nita shouts, and with a twist of axiom, Koa is thrown backwards and into the open air. Koa's jaw clamps shut as color bleeds out of the world. The adrenaline already spiking through his veins has slowed everything to a bare crawl. He grabs the axiom. It's not his favorite tool, but it will suffice as he adds it to the adrenaline already sending his mind and body into overdrive. He then grabs his boot knife and shirt in a single move, rams the knife partway through the sleeve, and runs axiom through them both to reinforce them, as he then hurls the knife into the reinforced side of the spire level. His fall turns into a swing, and his boots slam into the side of the spire level, giving him all he needs to rock it up. Another twist of axiom, and the knife comes out as he rolls back onto the level he was just thrown from with his knife in an ice-pick grip with his shirt in his other hand. It takes a moment for him to stop huffing in enormous lungs of air and stands up slowly. Whoa, that was incredible. I didn't know you could move that fast. Sweet goddess, this is so cool. Our husband is... Nita begins to babble. What the hell is wrong with you? Koa barks at the tiny woman who backs away in shock. Husband, Nika begins. Are you two completely insane? Why would you throw me off a spire? Is there anything at all between your ears but skin and bone? Is there any electrical activity going on at all in your head? He's not shouting, but he's certainly projecting his voice hard enough that both sisters are backing away in fear from its sheer presence. Electrical? Nita asks. This is not the time for Biology 101. Why did you throw me off the spire? Koa demands, and the sisters rally together. I thought it would be funny, Nita asks rather than answers. How is my being reduced to a pile of gore funny? He demands. We would have caught you? Nika asks, and Koa groans in frustration as he sheathes his knife and nearly wrestles his shirt on in his frustration. He takes a deep breath and forces himself to calm down, even as his adrenaline crashes hard and a wave of lethargy starts to move through him. Side effect of charging it with axiom, it burns out fast. See that? He asks, pointing to an air transport as it passes by. It's an air hauler. They're all over the place. And if one had gone screaming by as I fell, how pretty would I be if I were slammed into the front of one of those monsters moving so fast that it's already passed by the time you hear it? Because some do go that fast. We'd have caught you first? Nita tries, and he raises an extremely unimpressed eyebrow. I'm sorry? Are you? He asks. I'm sorry! I'm really sorry! She shouts, and he heaves a sigh. The exhaustion is hitting him, and being angry just takes more energy. I'm going to get a snack and calm down. What you did was incredibly dangerous and incredibly stupid. It doesn't matter if you can save them. If you throw someone into danger, then it better be someone you either hate or don't care if they are hurt. Because nothing is perfect, and there's a chance, A very real chance that when you place someone in danger, you won't be able to pull them out. I would have caught you, Nita protests. But you didn't, did you? He asks her before taking a step on a long stride. There's some food vendors with their carts in the distance, and something solid in his gut will help stabilize his mood. Only because you caught yourself, the sisters protest. He ignores them as he fingers the hole in his shirt sleeve. It will need sewing to close it up. Thankfully, he can feel the stretching already beginning to fix itself, which is good as he's not quite sure how to unstretch a shirt. He simply rolls up the sleeves so they don't hang down and stop him from using his hands. Whether they wanted to or not, the girls had just reminded him that he just wasn't safe on Centris. On or off duty, not only could he be attacked by a criminal organization, but sheer stupidity could also be a massive threat. Hey, hello. I just had a bit of a scare and need something big and filling to help settle my stomach. What do you recommend? He asks the vendor, who looks startled before glancing towards Nika and Nita are trailing after him in silence. He looks over his shoulder at his subdued and contrite wives. Either of you want anything? You forgive me? Nita asks in surprise, and Koa frowns. Not yet, and not for a bit, but eventually. Do either of you want anything? He offers, and he receives happy smiles as both of them zip up and hug him around the back. You're a good man. I'd have been angry a lot longer myself. You saw that? Half the spire saw that Mr. saves himself, then lectures, the vendor remarks. Oh, joy, just what I need. Fame! Koa groans, and she giggles out loud.